Sutton, Scaling Up Excellence, Getting to More Without Settling for Less. Scaling Up Excellence, Getting to More Without Settling for Less, by Sutton, delves into the fascinating process of scaling an organization and its performance. This book summary explores the problem of more and the problem of better, highlighting the ways organizations can implement change, adapt to different situations, and enhance their overall practices. Be prepared for a marathon journey as you explore varied themes such as endurance, balance between standardization and local variation, effective communication, tackling complexity, and leveraging the power of connections and diversity.
Scaling for success. Scaling refers to spreading good performance to more people and places. It is a major challenge faced by leaders in successful organizations, but it is also necessary for growth. However, scaling is not just about replicating best practices, it requires improving performance along the way. Bridgewater International Academies, a chain of elementary schools in developing countries, scaled up from 1 to over 210 schools by focusing on growing the organization and improving their practices. Effective scaling requires innovation, changes in organizational behaviors and structures, and finding better strategies for delivering products or services. Successful examples provide some fundamental principles and strategies for success, even though there is no easy recipe for effective scaling. Scaling your organization for long-term success. Scaling your organization requires endurance and a ground war approach rather than an air war. Facebook's success shows the value of investing time and resources in training employees. Persistence and people orientation lead to better performance, as demonstrated by Andy Papa's success in scaling up a pit crew for a motorsports company. Therefore, rather than pushing one person 1,000 feet forward, focus on pushing 1,000 people 1 foot forward to achieve long-term success. Balancing standardization and variation in scaling. As companies scale, they face the trade-off between standardization and local variation. The authors call these poles Catholicism and Buddhism. Standardization entails a predetermined ideal model, while local variation allows for specific actions to vary under a commonly shared mindset. To find the best balance, companies should consider a mixed approach, like healthcare company Kaiser Permanente. They defined non-negotiable points while allowing for regional adjustments. Practical principles, methods, and tools for successful scaling are discussed in the next parts. Starting your scaling challenge. When embarking on a scaling venture, you must communicate your strategy in a way that inspires your team. There are 2 ways of achieving this: changing people's beliefs or their behavior. Changing beliefs helps people make conscious choices, while changing behavior leads to a shift in beliefs. To illustrate this, Stanford University changed belief by demonstrating the importance of wearing helmets to prevent accidents. Meanwhile, modifying behavior by encouraging students to wear stylish helmets also led to belief changes over time. Ultimately, both methods work, and it is up to you to decide which approach to adopt. However, the key takeaway is that getting people to buy into your scaling plan is more important than the starting point. Scaling up without getting dumb. Scaling up can make things complicated quickly. Adding too much complexity too soon leads to a big, dumb company. Redundant rules and practices are one of the main pitfalls of scaling up. To avoid this, you need to be on the lookout for these deficiencies. Leaders at Adobe abolished formal annual performance reviews, which allowed for more frequent and personal check-ins between line managers and employees. This change cut out unnecessary documentation duties while providing space for more effective talks that support personal development. Always be mindful of the unnecessary burdens that can build up over time and change course accordingly. Talent and accountability. Finding employees with both excellent skills and accountability is a challenge, but Tamagoya, a Tokyo-based food delivery company, solved the problem by employing high school dropouts as drivers. Once properly trained, they know Tokyo's quirks well, serve customers well, and are accountable to the company, making them the best employees for the job. To build talent with accountability, leaders should foster a feeling of shared purpose and collective belonging, as demonstrated by BP, which treats the company like a sports team and challenges employees to outcompete Shell. By promoting pride, belonging, and internal values and strengths, companies can clearly differentiate themselves from their competition. The power of diversity in spreading good behavior. To spread good behavior throughout an organization, it is essential to cultivate deep connections between employees from diverse backgrounds and functions. This approach anchors efforts in many different departments and locations and benefits stakeholders across the organization. JetBlue used this strategy to solve a fundamental operations problem by inviting a diverse group of employees to discuss the situation. To make the most of diversity, companies should employ multiple strategies tailored to the diverse needs, preferences, and motivations of their employees. For example, combining CEO messaging with personal connection events can help to spread best practices throughout an organization. Ultimately, diversity is the key to reliably spreading good behaviors in an organization. The contagion of bad behavior. Destructive behavior is a significant threat to scaling efforts and can corrupt even the best practices. Negative emotions are contagious, infecting the entire team, leading to lower performance levels. The broken windows theory asserts that small acts of negativity are likely to escalate quickly and are very destructive. Therefore, leaders must address bad behavior with perseverance and vigilance before trying to spread excellent practices. Having zero tolerance towards destructive behavior is a good mindset to begin with, and there are other ways to deal with those who undermine the organization's performance. Rather than firing such employees, coaches recommend organizing them in groups and under the guidance of a mentor. A remarkable result emerged when Stanford Design School put disruptors together to work with each other. Their similar personalities balanced one another out, increasing productivity. Overall, it is critical to understand that bad behavior is infectious and that leaders must take necessary actions to deal with such behaviors. Project Premortem. The book suggests that for a successful scaling approach, it is important to perform a project premortem. To practice this technique, a team should be split into two groups, one group imagining scaling as a success, and the other group assuming it as a failure. The groups should share their story as if it had already happened, identifying as many causes of the respective success or failure as possible. This technique helps address possible roadblocks more openly and keeps overly optimistic tendencies in check. Management research shows that this technique increases people's ability to accurately identify the causes, barriers, and enablers for future results by 30%. When reasoning from the future, it becomes easier to ask critical questions, for instance, asking if it is worth the time and money spent. Founders can use this technique and imagine themselves in the future, asking if they are content with the company they have created. Mitch Kappa's story of starting Lotus Technology and then realizing it wasn't a place for him anymore, shows how a premortem could have saved him from disappointment.
As you conclude this book summary, you've learned that scaling up an organization requires constant innovation, adaptation, and enhancing performance. Managing the essential trade-offs between standardization and local adaptation, tackling complexity, engaging talented and accountable personnel, and leveraging the power of diversity and connections help reach scaling success. Mitigating negative influences, practicing premortems, and boosting motivational communication further aid the scaling process. Sutton's book offers valuable lessons and strategies for organizations striving to achieve excellence in their growth, without settling for less.